Good day, everybody. Here we are on the Bible in a Year, 2021, day 71, looking at Deuteronomy chapters 3 and 4. And it's heavy today, as in there's a lot, because I want to deal with every single verse. And I really hope that you get as much out of Deuteronomy as I do every year. If you've been following along and you did Leviticus and Numbers, um, uh, well, if you paid attention, then you're absolutely going to love what Deuteronomy presents for us. So, starting off in verse 2, um, we just need to establish here, as they come into this territory, even before they enter into the promised land, there's certain territories that the Lord is providing for them, because it's where the Canaanite people live, and they are to destroy all the Canaanite people. So in verse 2, because this is His judgment, you got to understand, this is His judgment. Okay, the Lord said to me, "Don't be afraid of him. I have handed him all his forces and his land over to you. Do the same thing to him that you did to Sihon, the Amorite king who ruled in Heshbon." So there's two territories now that they're taking over. And the thing is, with Moses, they did exactly what Yahweh wanted. Just look at the verse 3. And so the Lord our God also handed Og, Bashan's king, along with his forces over to us. We struck them down until no survivor is left. And then when you read through, you'll see that they've done the same thing to this land, this previous land, previous kingdom, and they've killed everybody. And this is Yahweh's judgment. So under Moses, they actually carried out what they were supposed to do. Joshua, when he goes into the land, the rest of the land to possess it, he struggles. There's a struggle. But with Moses, under Moses, Moses is very forceful, very strong leader. He's going to do exactly what Yahweh says. And we in our sensibilities may want to question all that, but we've got to get to a place of trust in Yahweh. Just as we trust that He loves, we also have to trust His justice, and He has given a way for everybody to escape that justice, the consequences of that justice, where we are today. And so he's coming into the Canaanites. He's judged this already. They have totally offended him, and he's removing them from creation. That's it. Like, no more discussion. That's it. They're done. And Moses is following exactly what he said to do. Then down in verse 12, 13, we find some things here where you have to mesh it all together, because we get incomplete pictures here in Deuteronomy, although Deuteronomy fills in a lot of things that we didn't get out of the previous books. But there are things mentioned in the previous books that we don't find here in Deuteronomy. And so something isn't mentioned here. So this is the land we possessed at that time. I gave some of it from Arior, which is beside the Arnon River, up through half of Gilead highlands, along with its cities, to the Reubenites and the Gadites. The rest of the Gilead region and all of Bashan, Og's kingdom, I gave to half the tribe of Manasseh. It's not mentioned here that it's actually the Reubenites and the Gadites who came to Moses and asked if they could have this land. They wanted this land because it was perfect for their flocks, and everything was here that they needed for them. This was a fulfillment of the promise. So it's not mentioned here. It's just Moses says, "I gave it to them," but it was them who came and asked for it. And the Lord told Moses to go ahead. And then again here in verse 18, we find there's something left out. And it says, "Then I commanded you, although the Lord your God has given you this land to possess," where they are right now, "you must now cross over before the rest of your Israelite relatives as a fighting force ready for battle." But what's left off here is the portion where Moses speaks up right away, his concern, because they're asking for this land, and he has a flashback back to what happened 40 years ago when the people refused to move into the promised land, and that was the fear that rose up in Moses, and it was the Reubenites and the Gadites who assured him, no, we will go with you. In fact, we will fight in front of Israel. We will be the first ones in, and they assured Moses. So here we have Moses saying that he commanded them, but it wasn't accepted. It became a command because it was the condition. I'll give you this land, but you must go. Just as you said, you must enter in, and you must go in, and you know. So yeah, just this is an example of how you have to really be aware of the total Bible, of everything, so that it's all there. It's just that the Lord loves us to dig into it, to fill in all the blanks. And here we find, this is the first time that instruction is given to Joshua about what he needs to do as he leads the people in. Okay, this is the first instruction that's coming to him in verse 21. It was at that same time that I commanded Joshua, you saw everything that the Lord your God did to these two kings. So this is the example, Joshua. This is what it looks like. This is what you have to do. That is exactly what the Lord will do to all the kingdoms where you're going. Okay, so I just wanted to point that out there. I understand Moses' prayer here in verse 20, 24, 25. It's kind of gut wrenching. Please, Lord God, you have only begun to show your servant your greatness. This is relationship, people. Always grab hold of the verses that really highlight the relationship. You have only begun to show your servant your greatness. Like Moses has been at this for a while now. Okay, he's 40 some years. He's been at this 40 some years, 40 years since he said, Lord, show me your ways that I will know you. Show me your way, show me how you do things so I can know you. And he's saying here, you have only begun to show your servant your greatness and your mighty hand. What God in heaven or on earth can act as you do, or can perform your deeds and powerful acts? Please, look at this. Please let me cross over the Jordan River so I can see the wonderful land that lies beyond it, those beautiful highlands, even the Lebanon region. He wanted to see, but not just so he could see the land, but so that he could see Yahweh in action, so he could learn even more about him. You've got to read the whole thing to take this whole prayer in, to understand what he is asking here. This I don't understand. Okay, I don't understand this. But the Lord was angry with me because of you. That's the part I don't understand. Because of you. He wouldn't listen to me. He said to me, that's enough from you. Don't ever ask me about this again. I can understand that from the Lord. I've been frustrated with my children and have said the same thing to them when I had said no to them, and they come back, still begging, still asking, still pleading. And it's like, I said no, I don't want to hear anymore. I can understand what the Lord's saying, but I don't understand what Moses is saying, because there's nobody to blame for this except for Moses. The Lord gave him instructions. Moses grandstanded the whole thing. Instead of speaking to the rock and giving the Lord the glory for the giving of this water, he said, what do I have to do? Like, do I have to bring water from this rock? And he struck the rock to make it a production, to make it a showmanship type of thing. And the Lord became angry with him for that and said, listen, after that, there's no way. I can't trust you to go into the promised land. You're going to take all the credit for yourself. It's as simple as that. And yet Moses is turning around and saying, it's because you weren't satisfied. It's because you were demanding for water that this ended up happening. You know, I wouldn't have done that if you hadn't. Like, that's the mentality here. And yeah, so I don't understand how Moses is saying this. So again, this is, you have to have wise counsel here, guys. Understand all of the scripture, really understand it, understand what's being said. Just like Yahweh was not pleased that Abraham was allowing another man to have his wife to protect his own skin. You know, this isn't this thing here is not something that would please Yahweh's heart. Um, and then Yahweh made it very clear to Moses in this time, this 2 years that he has here. This is the full thing that he's doing. It's 2 years of preparation. Although Joshua has been trained as a leader, he's been the assistant of Moses for these 40 years. But now it's different because he has to learn how to lead without Moses being there. So here in verse 28, instead, command Joshua, strengthen him. So command Joshua, strengthen him, and encourage him, because he's the one who will cross the river before this people. He's the one who will make sure they inherit the land you will see. So Moses is going to be allowed to see the land, but he's not going to have any part of entering into the land. But it's clear here. It's Joshua. He will be the leaders. You need to get him ready. Then over into chapter 4, this is all relational stuff here. Yeah, look at this, verse 1. Now, Israel, in light of all that, listen to the regulations and the case laws that I am teaching you to follow. So this is what we were talking about. 40 years ago, this was given. He is about to give it again, because all the people that were adults 40 years ago are now dead. Their children are now here. The children probably don't remember all these things from 40 years ago. So Moses is going to bring it to them again. He's going to teach it to them again. And he says, so that you may live, enter and possess the land that the Lord your ancestors' God has given to you. So there's a condition here for possessing. Well, there's a condition for living, first of all, for being able to stay alive. There's a condition for actually being able to cross the Jordan into the land, and there is a condition for possessing the land. It's all the same condition. It's based on a relationship that provokes to obedience. It's not just simply obedience, it's that relationship. That's what Yahweh is looking for. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength. He is looking for that relationship that provokes obedience. In verse 3 to 4 here, like, know Yahweh's heart. It says, you saw with your own eyes what the Lord did concerning the Baal of Peor. This isn't long ago. This is just a little bit ago. This just happened, guys. The Lord your God destroyed everyone who followed the Baal of Peor. But all of you who stay true to the Lord your God are alive today. He's faithful in relationship. He is faithful in relationship, but he's also faithful to his justice. And if you insult him by giving his worship over to something else, at this time, pre-Jesus, before the blood of Jesus, before the cross, then he would be faithful in administering his justice, and that's what he's done here. He's that worship belongs to him. It's as simple as that. That worship belongs to him. Your hearts belong to him. Your mind belongs to him. Your life belongs to him. He is the creator. He gave you life. He put everything in motion. This all his creation, everything, the air that you're breathing belongs to him. There's nothing that you own. There's nothing. You don't get to take anything with you when you're done here. Everything has been loaned to you. You are just good stewards of these things. That we've got to get this clear. And all worship is owed to that one, to the one and only. And it's not just because he created, but it's because he made the decision to love. Verse 6, keep them faithfully, meaning the law, the regulations. Keep them faithfully because that will show your wisdom and insight to the nations who will hear about all these regulations. They will say, surely this great nation is wise and insightful people. Because of this relationship, and the obedience that we have in this relationship and his glory flowing through us, the same is still true to today as it was at this time, when we operate in what we're supposed to be operating, functioning as we are supposed to function in him, in completeness and in wholeness, and his glory is just being able to shine through us. Man, there's a testimony there. We are a unique people. Just as Israel was a unique people, we are a unique people. That's how we're supposed to operate. Verse 7 and 8, after all this, is there any great nation that has gods as close to it as the Lord our God is close to us whenever we call to him? Or does any great nation have regulations and case laws as righteous as all this instruction that I am setting before you today? Okay, there's two things here that make them unique. Two things: his presence, the presence, and the law. Those are the two things that are absolutely distinct about Israel: the presence of Yahweh and the law, the righteous law that they are to live. And they have a testimony. This is the thing that they're supposed to be doing. This is look at this. But be on guard and watch yourselves closely, so that you don't forget the things your eyes saw, and so they never leave your mind as long as you live. Be on guard and watch. Watch yourselves closely, so that you don't forget. So you don't forget the things your eyes saw. And so they never leave your mind as long as you live. This is your testimony. This is the experience. What are you supposed to do with it? Teach them to your children and your grandchildren. Listen, I'm really happy for those of you who you're instructing your kids on the word and you're teaching them the word. But they need to hear how that word has been applied in your life. They need to hear how the relationship has worked out in your life. They need to hear some of those struggles that you've been through and the victory that you were given. They need to see why it is that you chose Yahweh, why you choose to follow Jesus Christ. Why is it? What are the great things that he's done in your life? What has he overcome in your life? What is your testimony? And these are the things that you're to teach your children and your grandchildren. Somehow we miss this. We think, oh, if we just teach them, thou shalt not kill and thou shalt not steal and all this sort of stuff. But it's got to come from somewhere. It's got to come from a relationship. Why is this important? How is this important? Why did Yahweh teach us this morality? Like, why is this important to him? How I treat my neighbor? Why does he care? What does that matter to him? And it's these things that we need to teach, and we need to teach about the relationship, not just the words. Because all we're going to get then, there's going to be no submission to Jesus Christ. There's going to be there's going to be no transformation of the heart. There is just going to be this conformity to to a law. There's going to be no transformation, and eventually, when that all seems empty, because they have no basis, they have no root, they have no relationship. Then they'll find some other definitions. They'll find some other things that they can live by, instead of living according to this relationship. The testimony is so vital, people. So vital. Look at verse 10. Remember. Yeah, that's what's really important here, because we have such short memories. Remember. We do. We have short memories. Remember that day when you stood before the Lord your God at Horeb. Remember that day when the Lord provided, when he answered your prayer, and that thing that you thought was going to destroy you didn't destroy you? Do you remember that? Did you write it down? Do you remember when you spent so much time praying about that thing, and you thought, you really sure you were so desperate, but the Lord came through on that thing? Do you remember this? And do you remember those things? Do you write them down? Do you remember? Remember that day when you stood before the Lord your God at Horeb, when the Lord said to me, gather the people to me. I will declare my words to them so that they will learn to fear me every day of their lives on the fertile land and teach your children to do the same. Do you remember why you came to Jesus Christ? Do you remember that day of salvation? Do you remember it? Because I will never forget mine. And mine continues to be source of encouragement as I remember back to that day. Remember, remind yourself. Verse 16 to 18. Don't ruin this relationship. Yeah, don't blow this, people. That's what Moses is saying to them. Don't ruin everything and make an idol for yourself. Listen, guys, you've got it good here. This is going to be really good. All these promises, like, guys, nobody, there's no God other than Yahweh. There's no God, and He is for you, and He's given you this land, and He's fighting for you, and like He's with you, and He's giving you His laws so that you can just be brilliant in comparison to all the lands around you. You've got it good here. You're coming into this very fertile land. You've got it good. Now don't ruin it. Don't ruin everything and make an idol for yourself, a form of any image, any likeness, male or female, or any likeness whatsoever, whether of a land animal, a bird that flies in the sky, an insect that crawls on the earth, or a fish that lives in the sea. And he goes on about that. But it's like, don't ruin it by giving to something in creation what belongs to the Creator. And like he's really is he making a point here? Because he's really emphasizing this. Do you think he understands the weakness of humanity? So all of you, watch yourselves. Don't forget the covenant that the Lord your God made with you by making an idol or an image of any kind or anything the Lord your God forbids, because the Lord your God is an all-consuming fire, people. He is a passionate God. Hope you're making note of these things, because this is who he is. It's revealed to you in Scripture. He is a passionate God. He loves you and he wants your love, and he does not want that love going anywhere else. And you cannot afford to insult the Holy One. You can't afford to insult the one who holds all of creation in himself. Can't afford that. And then we get some really incredible prophecy, very accurate prophecy. Um, Verse 25, 26, and it goes on. Once you have had children and grandchildren and have grown old on the land, if you ruin things by making an idol in any form whatsoever, and do what is evil in the eyes of the Lord your God and anger him, I call heaven and earth as my witnesses against you today. You will definitely disappear, and quickly, from the land that you are crossing over the Jordan River to possess. You won't extend your time there, but will instead be totally destroyed. So, like, guys, it doesn't matter how long you're at this. You need to do this right. Don't forget. Don't grow old and forget. And look at verse 29 and 30. This is a showing. This is a proof that Yahweh knows the end from the beginning. He knows the end from the beginning. This is prophecy here. And Moses say, like, you will be removed from this land. You will be deported. You will be absorbed by other nations. And he says, you will seek the Lord your God from there. And you will find him if you seek him with all your heart and with all your being. In your distress, When all these things happen to you in the future, you will return to the Lord your God and you will obey his voice. So this is the prophecy that is given. And these very words are words very, very close to this, are spoken by prophets at the time as the people are being taken into captivity and are being deported. They speak these very same words. But here's Moses, even before they've crossed into the land. Moses, the prophet, is speaking about what's going to happen because they're going to ruin it. And here I kind of cut this in half because I want you to take note. This is Yahweh, and he's never changing. And he says that, you will find him because the Lord your God is a compassionate God. Because the Lord your God is a compassionate God. He won't let you go. He won't destroy you. And he won't forget the covenant that he swore to your ancestors. So even when you're deported, even when you're in this land, even when you're separated, and all of Israel is just going to pot, there's nobody there to tend it and look after it. It's just it will be in ruins. But he's not going to let you go. He's not going to let you go. I hope that does something to your heart. Nothing can separate us from the love of Christ. Nothing. Verse 35. You were shown these things so that you would know this. The Lord is the only God. There's no other God except him. That is given. That is everything that was revealed to them, everything that was shown to their parents and through the parents to them was for this reason, that they would know this truth. Because it's a truth that they have to hold on to. Verse 37 to 38. He's faithful to his promise, and there's purpose for it. There's purpose always in the promises. And because he loved your ancestors and chose their descendants after them, the ancestors are Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And because he loved your ancestors and chose their descendants after them, God brought you out of Egypt with his own presence, by his own great power, in order to remove larger and stronger nations from before you and bring you into their land, giving it to you as an inheritance. That's where things stand right now. Yeah, so the promises, but there's also purpose. Those 7 nations had to be removed. It's what was said to Abraham from the very beginning. I'm going to give you this land because your descendants, I'm going to use your descendants to bring my judgment upon these people, and the land will be given to your descendants. So, fact, let's just state it. Fact, verse 39, fact. Know then today and keep in mind that the Lord is the only God in heaven above or on earth below. There is no other. There is no other. And then the last right here. Thank you for sticking with me. verse 40. The way forward. Keep the Lord's regulations and his commandments. Right there. Keep the Lord's regulations and his commandments. People, not from the basis of a law, but from a basis of relationships. From a relationship. We've been made in his image, so we want to be like him. And being like him, we seek him. We do what he does. We mimic our Father, if you want to refer to it that way. We love like he loves. Our heart breaks over what breaks his. We love those who he loves. We do everything that we see him doing. That's the idea of the regulations and the commandments. I'm commanding them to you today for your well-being and for the well-being of your children after you, so that you may extend your time on the fertile land that the Lord your God is giving you forever. Straightforward. Straightforward. Simple. Simple. So that was a lot today. Deuteronomy's going to like that, folks. Sorry, there's a lot in here. There's a lot where we discover Yahweh. We see His heart. We see His purposes. It's absolutely beautiful, and I pray that you'll stick with it, and we'll get through this together. So you guys have a blessed and wonderful day. I love you. Thank you for being with us on this journey with me, and yeah, we'll see you tomorrow.